There's one concept or model or tool that has helped me most on my journey of coming home to myself and my soul essence, my authentic self, who I am here to be and to create from. It has been understanding the drama triangle. The drama triangle is a psychological model that was established or created or founded by someone named Stephen Cartman in the 1960s. And this is a psychological model that explains what happens when people find themselves in conflict, when they feel threatened, when they feel they go into survival, when they are essentially unconsciously operating from a state of victimhood, where they are going into these patterns or dynamic with themselves or other people that come from a state of victim mentality and feeling like the world is out to get me or pour me, or I have to change my environment or other people in order for me to feel safe, in order for me to feel good, in order for me to feel powerful. So the drama triangle, it has 3 roles that are really, really important to understand when we're on the space of healing and self-development. Because what we'll find is that we will find ourselves in this dynamic more often than we realize. And if we're not conscious of when we go into these dynamics, we can find ourselves feeling really disempowered and really disembodied from our own innate power and our essence. So there are 3 roles, as I said. Number 1 is victim. Understanding that feeling victim mentality, I'm sure that you might have felt it before. Maybe you've experienced it yourself, or you've seen it with other people, where this is kind of the sense that the world needs to change in order for me to feel okay, or the world is out to get me, or the sense of disempowerment that I can't do anything, that maybe someone else needs to come and save me, someone else needs to help me in order for me to feel good, or in order for me to feel safe or empowered. That's number 1, and that's a pretty obvious one. But then we get into the 2 other roles, which are more insidious sometimes, where we don't even realize that we're really in them. And the next one is the persecutor. And the third one is the rescuer. So we have the victim, persecutor, and rescuer. And they all operate from a state of victimhood, in a sense, like a core belief that the outside world needs to change in order for me to feel safe and good. And the persecutor is the person that will blame other people for their problems, or they will blame other people for being wrong, and they maybe need other people to see how wrong they are and how right they are. We'll usually see this on social media in comment sections, where people are really trying to get other people to understand how wrong they are and how right their opinion is, or how right their view of the world is. That's persecutor. Then we have the rescuer, which in my opinion is actually the most insidious, because sometimes the rescuer operates from the state of compassion and empathy, but underneath there is that layer of victimhood, in the sense that I need to rescue other people from their pain, or I need to fix them in order for me to feel okay, in order for me to feel valuable, in order for me to feel safe. And it's insidious too, because we then can find ourselves keeping people disempowered and in victim too, when we operate from a space that it's my responsibility to take away other people's pain, or it's my responsibility to fix someone else. It's my responsibility to take care of other people's lives for them. Keeps other people disempowered, and keeps us also in that state of, I'm not okay unless I can fix you. I'm not okay unless you change. in some way. And all of these different roles we see, like when we become conscious of them, which takes time and takes compassion for ourselves, we'll start seeing how much the world actually operates from this, or large portions of it, this state of mentality where the outside world needs to change in order for me to feel valuable, in order for me to feel safe, in order for me to feel powerful. And as we continuously do that work on ourselves, when maybe we're in conversation with someone else, how we maybe find ourselves going into victimhood, essentially feeling like, okay, I'm bad here in some way, and this person has more power than me. If they have a certain opinion about me, they have that power over me, versus other people can have the opinion they want. I have my emotions and my reality, and it doesn't matter how other people operate or how people react or respond to me. I'll be okay no matter what. Yes, I might feel some emotions about what someone else's opinion is about me, but I'm not going to make myself smaller or less than that other person just because they might be disagreeing with me or they have an issue with something I'm doing. And also when we notice that when we go into rescuer, like I actually am not empowering other people to be in their truth and their power when I feel like I have to fix them some way. And I think that, without generalizing, this is a pattern that is often more geared, or like women might experience it more, because we have this expectation often from women, or from the feminine essentially, that they have to be the caretakers, and that is where their actual value comes from. So many mothers feel this way, right? That my value is in how well I take care of other people. But then what can happen then, because that is so much of where we derive our value from, we can then find ourselves keeping people unconsciously in their victim and their disempowerment, because we might unconsciously be feeling like it's my responsibility to take care of their lives fully and wholly, and I don't feel valuable unless I can do that for them. And then the third, of course, noticing where we are pointing our fingers at other people and blaming them for our problems, or making them wrong and trying to get them to see how right we are. That is also the state of victimhood, because again, we operate from the worldview that someone else needs to change in order for me to feel okay. And what's really interesting about this too is we can relate this to our nervous system and the different nervous system responses that we might have. Fight, flight, fright, or freeze, or fawn. They're all kind of different states that we can place on the drama triangle. The fighting response, needing to, like when we feel defensive or threatened, going into fight is then we all will often find ourselves going into persecutor, blaming other people, needing to fight them, needing to make them wrong and show them how wrong they are so that we can find safety within ourselves or feel safety. Or fawning. Fawning is often the rescuer, because we're putting our needs aside, putting aside all the things that maybe are important to us in order for us to find safety through helping someone else. And the victim can often find itself more in kind of freeze or shutdown, even where, if someone has an opinion about them, or we feel like other people's opinion, like our sense of self-worth and identity depends on what other people think and feel about us. That is victim consciousness or a victim mentality, because we're putting other people above us and we're feeling smaller than, we're feeling kind of like the outside world has more power than me, or the outside world is what tells me, is what determines if I feel safe or not. And the way out of this is, of course, to recognize and create awareness of how this happens and how this happens within ourselves when we're going into conversations with people. If we find ourselves in any of these roles, and catching ourselves in that moment, knowing, okay, I'm kind of going into rescuing right now, or I'm kind of going into persecuting right now, or I'm kind of going into victim right now, And knowing that we can step out of it then. We can notice it and we can step out of it. And we can catch ourselves and we can maybe say something around like, okay, I'm noticing myself going into this role right now. And I don't really feel like going there because I know that if we keep going in this dynamic, that resolution is probably not going to be found, or it's going to be really difficult to find it. And this, of course, starts also with doing our own inner healing work, because when we notice where these dynamics come from, they don't come from anywhere. They come from usually our family dynamics. They come from our environment. It's usually what we've been learned to do. Like we've seen in maybe our families as children that it's our responsibility to take care of our parents' emotions, or we can only parts of ourselves are okay and valuable, so we might hide ourselves. And then when we show parts of ourselves that might have been not acceptable in our family dynamics, we actually then start feeling that as adults, that if I'm showing this part of myself and other people don't accept them, that's really dangerous for my own self-concept in a sense. So other people have the power over me to tell me, I put kind of my value in other people's hands, essentially. And again, if we saw our parents fighting as well, it's all of these different dynamics that can cause us to go into these unconscious patterns later in life as adults. And again, this is not about getting down on ourselves or getting stressed out about feeling when we're going into these different roles. It's about just having self-compassion and awareness and curiosity of when we do it, because the more we create an awareness of where we go into these patterns and perhaps where they come from, and doing the deeper inner healing work that's necessary, like meeting our inner child and helping them feel safe and valuable, innately valuable, so they don't have to go, so that we don't unconsciously have to go into these roles with other people or in our lives, essentially. And just realizing that we have the power to change. We have the power to step out of this and find safety within ourselves. Because this is the thing I'm going to end with, is our sense of safety is always, always, always derived within ourselves. It doesn't come from other people. Certainly other people can support in that through co-regulation, through having safe relationships, but first and foremost, the deepest sense of safety and power comes from discovering it within ourselves, knowing that we are the people, we are the person that we were waiting for, not anyone else outside of ourselves. We are. And all the inner parts of me that might be operating from that state of consciousness needs me to help them find safety, needs me to validate them, needs me to tell them that it's okay and that we don't need to point fingers, or we don't need to feel like other people need to save us, because we have the power within ourselves to do that for ourselves. And all our relationships change and shift as we step into that role of empowerment within ourselves, rather than operating unconsciously from a state of victimhood. And again, it's not about blaming ourselves even, because we can notice we can go into victim or the drama triangle within ourselves. That's not it either. It's just about noticing, awareness, compassion, curiosity, stepping out of it, welcoming all parts of ourselves that might be have been operating from there, giving them help, giving them validation, giving them whatever they need in order for them to feel safe to let go of that pattern in themselves. I hope this was helpful. And I know I'll be continuing talking about this topic because it is so important. And stay tuned.